The command deck of the Galactic Coalition warship Apex Horizon hummed with the sound of 100 different species going about their duties. Lights blinked across holographic displays, casting blue and amber glows on faces that ranged from scaled to furred to crystalline. In the center of it all stood Maya Cross, human, arms folded, jaw tight, staring at the 7-foot-tall figure who had just insulted her entire species. Commander Vex Thorne of the Krellic Dominion was everything Maya had learned to despise in the 6 months since humanity joined the Coalition. Tall, yes. Imposing, absolutely. His chitinous armor gleamed under the deck lights, and his 4 eyes, too large and too small, all fixed on her what could only be described as amusement mixed with contempt. I will repeat it, slower this time, so your primitive auditory system can process it, Vex said, his mandibles clicking with each syllable. Humans are adequate at best. Your physical capabilities are laughable. Your technology, borrowed. Your combat skills. He paused, and that clicking sound came again, almost like laughter, non-existent compared to real warriors. Maya felt Captain Reed's hand on her shoulder, a silent warning to keep her cool. But her blood was already boiling, hot and fast, the way it always did when someone pushed too far. "Is that so?" she asked, her voice calm, too calm. The kind of calm that came right before a storm. "It is factual, not opinion," Vex continued, circling her now like a predator examining wounded prey. "Your species has been in the stars for, what, 2 of your years? We have been warriors for 10,000. The Krellith have conquered 73 systems. We have bred for combat, evolved for war. And you—" He stopped in front of her, leaning down so his face was level with hers. "You are soft, weak. Your bones break easily. Your skin tears. You require specific atmospheric conditions just to survive. Tell me, little human, what exactly makes your kind think they belong among us?" The command deck had gone quiet. Too quiet. Maya could feel dozens of eyes on her, some curious, some pitying, some eager to see what would happen next. Humans were the newest members of the Coalition, and they were still proving themselves, still fighting for respect in a galaxy that had been carved up long before Earth figured out faster-than-light travel. "You want to know what makes us special?" Maya asked, taking a step forward instead of back. Reed's hand fell away from her shoulder. She heard him sigh, but he did not stop her. "We adapt. We improvise. We survive things that should kill us and come back meaner for it." Vex's mandibles spread wide. That clicking laugh again. Platitudes. Philosophy. This is not what wins wars. Human. Precision wins wars. Power wins wars. Skill wins wars. Things your species has never demonstrated. Never demonstrated? Maya's voice rose now, sharp and dangerous. "My grandfather fought in wars before we even knew you existed. My mother was a sniper who could hit a target at 2,000 meters with iron sights and wind strong enough to knock a grown man down. I grew up shooting bottles off fence posts before I could read. But sure, tell me more about how we have no skill." "Shooting bottles," Vex repeated, his tone dripping with mockery. "How quaint. Tell me, did you also wrestle farm animals? Perhaps you herded livestock with primitive projectile weapons." The clicking laughter came from several other Krellith officers now, standing at their stations, emboldened by their commander's cruelty. Maya's fists clenched at her sides. She could feel her heartbeat in her temples, could taste copper on her tongue from biting the inside of her cheek too hard. But she kept her face neutral, kept her breathing steady. Getting angry was what he wanted. Losing control was what he expected. "I tell you what," she said slowly, deliberately. "Since you are so convinced humans are worthless, why don't we make this interesting?" Vex's smaller eyes narrowed, while his larger ones remained fixed on her face. "Interesting how?" "A demonstration," Maya said. "You pick the test. You set the parameters. You choose the conditions. And I will show you exactly what human skill looks like." The clicking stopped. The command deck went from quiet to absolutely silent. Captain Reed stepped forward. "Cross, stand down. That is an order." "With respect, sir," Maya said, not taking her eyes off Vex. "I am off duty, and this is personal." Vex straightened to his full height. which made him tower over her even more dramatically. For a moment, she thought he might refuse, might dismiss her challenge as beneath him, but then she saw something flicker in those alien eyes. Curiosity, maybe, or hunger. The kind of hunger predators got right before they struck. "Very well," he said. "I accept your challenge, human. But understand this. When you fail, and you will fail, it will not just be your humiliation. It will be proof, recorded and transmitted, that humanity has no place among the warrior races of this galaxy. Your people will be relegated to support roles, labor positions, and the work that real soldiers consider beneath them. Do you accept these terms?" Maya did not hesitate. "I accept. When do we start?" "Tomorrow at 0800 station time. Training Deck 7. I will design a marksmanship trial that will expose every weakness in your physiology, your training, and your species' limitations." Vex leaned in close again, his breath smelling like burn metal and something sharper. "I will enjoy watching you fail, little human. Almost as much as I will enjoy explaining to your superiors why you should never have been allowed in the military in the first place." "Looking forward to it," Maya said through gritted teeth. Vex turned and strode off the command deck, his officers following behind him, that clicking laughter echoing in the vast chamber even after they disappeared through the blast doors. The moment they were gone, the deck erupted in whispered conversations. Maya stood rooted to the spot, her mind already racing through what she had just agreed to, what she had just put at stake. "My office now," Captain Reed said, his voice low and hard. She followed him to the maze of corridors that connected the command deck to the officers' quarters, neither of them speaking until they were behind closed doors. Reed's office was small, cramped, and decorated with nothing except a desk, 2 chairs, and a holographic display showing Earth in slow rotation. He stared at that display for a long moment before turning to face her. "What the hell were you thinking?" he asked, but his tone was more tired than angry. "I was thinking that someone needed to put that arrogant piece of chitin in his place." Maya shot back. "Sir, and you decided that someone should be you? Maya, do you have any idea what you just did? This is not about your pride or his attitude. If you lose tomorrow, it gives ammunition to every faction in the coalition that thinks humanity joined too soon, that we are not ready, that we should be second-class citizens in our own alliance. There are already calls to restrict human involvement in combat operations. You just handed them evidence on a silver platter." "Then I will not lose," Maya said simply. Reed laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You do not even know what the test is yet. Vex will design something impossible, something specifically calculated to exploit human limitations. He has spent his entire life training for war. His people have been doing this since before humans invented the wheel. What makes you think you can beat him at his own game?" "Because it is not his game anymore," Maya said. "The second I challenge him, the second he accepted, it stopped being about who has been a warrior longer or who has the better evolution. It became about who wants it more. And, sir, with all due respect, I want to wipe that smirk off his face more than I wanted anything in my entire life." Reed studied her for a long moment, then shook his head. "You are either the bravest soldier I have ever met or the most reckless. I have not decided which yet. Can it be both?" Maya asked, allowing herself the smallest hint of smile. "Get out of here," Reed said, but she could see the corner of his mouth twitch. "Go prep, get some rest. And Cross, do not make me regret defending your commission to the Coalition Council." "I will not, sir. I promise." She left his office and headed straight for the human quarters, a small section of the ship designated for the 3 Earth personnel serving on the Apex horizon. Word of the challenge had already spread. She could see it in the faces of every human she passed, could feel the weight of their expectations, their hopes, their fears. Her bunkmate, Corporal Sarah Chun, was waiting for her, sitting on the edge of Maya's rack with arms crossed. "Please tell me you did not actually challenge Vex Thorne to a marksmanship competition." "Okay," Maya said, stripping off her uniform jacket and tossing it onto her footlocker. "I will not tell you that." "Maya, are you insane? That guy is a legend. He has more confirmed kills than most species of soldiers. He has competed in 7 coalition tournaments and won 5 of them. He once hit a moving target at 4,000 meters in zero gravity while taking enemy fire. What exactly is your plan here? Maya sat down next to Sarah, suddenly feeling the exhaustion of the day catching up with her. I plan to show him that humans are not the weak, pathetic creatures he thinks we are. I plan to prove that we earned our place out here in the stars. And my plan... She paused, feeling something cold and sharp settle in her chest. I plan to make him regret every single condescending word that came out of his mouth. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then she reached over and squeezed Maya's shoulder. Then let me help you prep. We have about 12 hours before the challenge. If we're going to pull this off, we need to train, eat, rest, and make sure you are in peak condition. Also, we should probably figure out what kind of test he is going to throw at you. He will make it hard, Maya said. He will make it nearly impossible. That is the point. Good, Sarah said, standing up and pulling Maya to her feet. Then let us get started, because if you're going to do the impossible, you're going to need every advantage we can find. They spent the next hours in the human training bay, a converted cargo hold with targets, obstacles, and every weapon system Earth had managed to bring to the Coalition. Maya ran drills until her arms ached. Her eyes burned, her breathing came in gasps. She practiced with pistols, rifles, energy weapons, projectile weapons, anything and everything she might face tomorrow. Between drills, Sarah quizzed her on Krella tactics, on Vex known preferences, on every bit of intelligence they could dig up about tomorrow's judge and executioner. The picture that emerged was not encouraging. Vex was not just skilled. He was ruthless. He had designed training programs that broke recruits, competitions that left even veteran soldiers questioning their abilities. He is going to try to get in your head, Sarah said as Maya practiced breathing techniques to steady her aim. He is going to talk during the test, distract you, and make you doubt yourself. You have to tune him out. I know, Maya said, lining up another shot and squeezing the trigger. The target 300 meters downrange sparked as the round hit dead center. But Sarah, what if I really cannot do this? What if he is right and humans really are not good enough? Sarah walked over and physically turned Maya to face her, gripping both her shoulders hard. Listen to me. You are one of the best shots I have ever seen. You have reflexes that make our training instructors jealous. You have instincts that cannot be taught. And more than that, you have something Vex does not have. You have something to prove. You have fire in your belly and ice in your veins, and a stubborn refusal to quit that is pure human. So no, you are not going to fail tomorrow. You're going to walk onto that training deck. You're going to stare down that arrogant alien, and you're going to show the entire Coalition what Earth is made of. Maya felt something loosen in her chest, felt the fear drain away, replaced by determination. Okay, she said. Okay, let us do this. They trained until Maya could barely lift her arms, until her vision started to blur, until Sarah physically dragged her back to quarters and forced her into her bunk. Maya lay there in the darkness, listening to hum of the ship around her, thinking about tomorrow, about what was at stake, about what she had to do. She thought about her mother, who had taught her to shoot when she was 7 years old, who had told her that a weapon was just a tool, that accuracy came from the mind, not the hand. She thought about her grandfather, who had survived 3 wars and always said that the person who stayed calm under pressure was a person who walked away. She thought about every human who had ever fought, ever struggled, ever refused to give up, even when the odds were impossible. And she thought about Vex Thorne, standing there on the command deck, so certain of his superiority, so convinced that humans were beneath him. Tomorrow, she was going to change his mind. Tomorrow, she was going to make him understand exactly what human skill looked like. Tomorrow, she was going to make him regret ever asking to see what humans could do. Sleep came slowly, but when it did, Maya dreamed of targets and triumph, of impossible shots and a look of shock on an alien face when everything he believed turned out to be wrong. Tomorrow could not come fast enough. Training Deck 7 was massive, easily the size of 3 football fields, with a ceiling that stretched up into darkness and walls lined with every kind of target, obstacle, and challenge the Coalition had ever devised. When Maya walked to the blast doors at exactly 0800, she found herself facing not just Vex Thorne, but a crowd. Word had spread. Of course it had. Nothing traveled faster through a military vessel than gossip about a challenge, especially one this public, this personal. There had to be 200 beings gathered along the observation platforms, representing at least 30 different species. She saw Krella's soldiers, their chitinous armor gleaming. She saw the massive, bear-like Torvin warriors. She saw the graceful, floating Ethel observers. She even saw a delegation of the crystalline Shen, who rarely bothered with military matters but apparently could not resist a spectacle. And there, front and center, was Vex Thorne. He stood next to a holographic display that showed a complex course mapped out across the training deck, filled with targets at varying distances, elevations, and environmental conditions. Next to him was an adjudicator from the Coalition Oversight Committee, a tall, thin being from a species Maya did not recognize, holding a data tablet and looking profoundly bored. Captain Reed was there too, standing with the other human personnel, his face carefully neutral but his eyes sharp, watchful. Sarah gave Maya a small nod of encouragement. The rest of the humans looked nervous, hopeful, terrified, all at once. "Ah, the human arrives," Vex announced, his voice amplified across the deck so everyone could hear. "On time, at least. Your species understands punctuality, if nothing else." Maya did not respond. She simply walked forward, stopping 10 feet from where Vex stood, her spine straight, her expression calm. She had dressed in her standard combat uniform, nothing special, nothing fancy. Just black polymer weave, reinforced at the joints, pockets for ammunition and equipment. Her hair was pulled back in a tight braid. Her hands were steady at her sides. "Since you so graciously allowed me to design this test," Vex continued, clearly enjoying himself, "I have created something truly special. A trial that will evaluate not just accuracy, but adaptability, speed, decision-making, and performance under pressure. All the qualities that separate true warriors from." He gestured vaguely at Maya. "Whatever you claim to be." The holographic display flickered, and the course came into sharper focus. Maya studied it, her mind already working through the angles, the distances, the complications. There were 50 targets total, spread across the entire deck. Some were stationary, some moving, some hidden behind obstacles or protected by shields. The environmental conditions shifted every 10 seconds, cycling through zero gravity, high wind, extreme heat cold, and complete darkness. There were also decoy targets mixed in, designed to look like real threats, but programmed to count as penalties if hit. It was, without question, the most difficult shooting course Maya had ever seen. It would have been challenging for anyone. For a human, with baseline physiology and only 2 years of coalition training, it should have been impossible. "The rules are simple," the adjudicator said in a flat, disinterested tone. "You will have 20 minutes to complete the course. Each target hit correctly scores 1 point. Each decoy hit loses 2 points. Each target missed scores 0. Environmental hazards are active. Safety protocols are engaged, so you will not actually die if you make a mistake, though you may wish you had. The current record for this course is held by Commander Vex Thorne, who scored 43 points in 17 minutes. You must achieve at least 30 points to pass. Do you understand parameters?" "I understand," Maya said. "Do you wish to withdraw?" the adjudicator asked, sounding almost hopeful, as if a withdrawal would let him leave sooner. "No." "Very well. Select your weapon." A rack materialized from the floor, rising between Maya and Vex. On it were dozens of weapons, everything from primitive projectile firearms to advanced energy rifles, from heavy cannons to precision laser carbines. Maya walked along the rack slowly, examining each option, feeling the weight of every eye on her, knowing that her choice here would tell everyone watching exactly what kind of shooter she was. She passed over the energy weapons. Too clean, too easy, no soul to them. She passed over the heavy weapons. This was not about power. She passed over the advanced targeting systems and smart rifles. This was not about technology. Her hand closed around a weapon that made several aliens in the crowd gasp. It was a human gun, old Earth design, barely modified for coalition standards. A rifle bolt action, chambered for 7.62 millimeter rounds, with a simple optical scope and iron sights as backup. It was the kind of weapon her mother had taught her to shoot with, the kind her grandfather had carried in wars fought in mud and blood and desperation. "You cannot be serious," Vex said, and for the first time, he sounded genuinely surprised. "That is a relic, a museum piece. It has no computer assistance, no environmental compensation, and no target tracking. You would choose it over actual military hardware." Maya checked the action, smooth and clean, then loaded a magazine with practice efficiency. She looked up at Vex, and for the first time since this whole thing started, she smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the kind of smile a predator gave right before it pounced. "This is not about the weapon," she said quietly. "It is about the person holding it. You should remember that." She walked to the starting line, a glowing marker on the deck floor, and took her position. The rifle felt good in her hands, familiar, like coming home after a long deployment. She took a breath, slow and steady, feeling her heartbeat regulate, feeling her mind shift into that calm, focused state that every shooter knew, that zone where everything else fell away and it was only you, the weapon, and the target. "Begin," the adjudicator said. The course activated instantly. Lights dimmed, environmental controls kicked in, and targets began their patterns. Maya moved. First target, 200 meters, stationary, standard lighting. She brought the rifle up, acquired a sight picture, and squeezed the trigger. The recoil punched her shoulder, familiar and satisfying. Downrange, the target sparked and went dark. Hit. Second target, moving left to right, 300 meters. She let it slightly, accounting for velocity and distance, and fired. Hit. The third target, behind a barrier, is only visible for 3 seconds at a time. She waited, patient, watching the pattern, and when it appeared, she fired without hesitation. Hit. The environmental controls shifted. Gravity disappeared. Maya found herself floating, the rifle pulling her slightly off axis. Around her, she heard gasps from the crowd, probably expecting her to panic, to lose control. Instead, she used the momentum from her last shot to spin herself, oriented on the next target, braced her feet against a nearby wall, and fired. The recoil pushed her backward, but the round flew true. Hit. She worked through the course methodically, efficiently, never rushing but never hesitating. When wind generators kicked in, howling at 50 kilometers per hour, she adjusted her aim, feeling for the push and pull, trusting her instincts over any computer. When the temperature dropped to near freezing, making her fingers ache and her breath fog in front of her face, she controlled her breathing, kept her grip steady, and kept firing. The crowd had gone silent. Even Vex had stopped talking, just watching with all 4 eyes fixed on her, mandibles clenched tight. 15 targets down. 20. 25. Maya was in the zone now, that perfect state where time seemed to slow, where she could see the solution to every problem before it even materialized. Moving targets, hidden targets, targets in complete darkness where she had to fire based on sound and memory alone. At target 30, the course threw its worst at her. 0 gravity, complete darkness, high wind, and 3 targets moving in different directions simultaneously. It should have been impossible. Any sane person would have taken them one at a time, accepted that hitting all 3 was not realistic. Maya fired 3 times in 4 seconds. All 3 targets went dark. The silence in the observation deck broke. She heard cheering, gasping, shouting in a dozen different languages. She heard Sarah scream something that might have been encouragement or might have been just pure shock. She even heard what sounded like cursing in Krelith. She kept going. 35 targets. 40. She was moving faster now, not because she was rushing, but because she had found her rhythm, that perfect harmony between thought and action that every shooter dreamed of but few ever achieved. At target 45, with 5 minutes left on the clock, she paused. There were 5 targets left, and all of them were decoys except one. They were identical in every way except for one microscopic detail that would be invisible to most species, nearly invisible even to humans. The real target had a slightly different heat signature, barely detectable, designed to fool thermal imaging. Maya closed her eyes. She did not need to see it. She could feel it. Call it instinct, call it intuition, call it whatever you want. She knew which one was real. She opened her eyes, aimed, and fired. The correct target went dark. The 4 decoys remained untouched. For more targets, scattered across the deck at extreme ranges. 1,000 meters, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500. Each one harder than the last. Each one designed to push the limits of what any weapon could do, let alone a primitive rifle with no computer assistance. Maya hit them all. When the final target went dark, when the course declared itself complete, when the holographic display showed her score, the entire training deck erupted. 50 targets, 50 hits, 0 mistakes. 20 minutes became unnecessary. She had finished in 15 minutes and 42 seconds. The adjudicator stared at his tablet, like it had personally betrayed him. Score 50 points. Perfect accuracy. Time 15 minutes 42 seconds. This is a new record by 7 points. Maya lowered the rifle, her arms shaking slightly from adrenaline and exertion, and turned to face Vex Thorne. The Krella commander stood absolutely still, his mandibles open, his smaller eyes wide, his larger eyes even wider. He looked like someone had just punched him in all 4 of his stomachs. "You were saying something about human skill?" Maya asked, her voice carrying across the sudden hush that had fallen over the crowd. "I am sorry, I did not quite catch it. Something about us being weak? Pathetic? Having no place among warrior races." Vex opened his mouth, closed it, and opened it again. No sound came out. The clicking, that arrogant, condescending clicking that followed every insult yesterday, was gone. "Let me tell you something about humans," Maya continued, walking toward him now, still carrying the rifle. "We are not the strongest species. We are not the fastest. We do not have armor plating or 4 eyes or any of the advantages you were born with. But we have something better. We have adaptability. We have determination. We have 10,000 years of our own history, our own wars, our own struggles that taught us how to survive against impossible odds. You think your species invented warfare? We were killing each other with rocks and sticks before we even invented language. We have been perfecting the art of violence since before we climbed down from the trees." She stopped right in front of him, looking up at his towering form without an ounce of fear. "You wanted to see human skill? Congratulations. You just did. And here's the best part. I am not even the best shot in our military. I am just the one who got tired of listening to you talk." The crowd exploded again, cheering, laughing, the sound of dozens of species celebrating the upset of the century. Maya saw Captain Reed trying and failing to hide his grin. She saw Sarah jumping up and down with pure joy. She saw Krella's soldiers looking at each other in disbelief, saw Torvan warriors nodding with what looked like respect, saw the Ethel observers glowing brighter, their version of applause. And she saw Vex Thorne, the great warrior, the legendary soldier, the being who spent the last day telling her how inferior her species was. Standing there with nothing to say, nothing to do except watch his own certainty crumble around him. "I believe you owe humanity an apology," Maya said quietly, so only he could hear under the noise of the crowd. "And I believe you owe me one personally. But I will settle for you never, ever underestimating us again." Vex stared at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, he inclined his head. Not a bow, not quite, but an acknowledgement. "Your skill is exceptional. I was wrong about your capabilities." "Say it louder," Maya said. "Everyone here deserves to hear it." Vex's mandibles clenched, and for a second she thought he might refuse. But then he turned to face the crowd, his voice amplified across the deck. "I was wrong about human combat capabilities. This soldier has demonstrated exceptional skill and has earned my respect." The cheering somehow got even louder. Maya allowed herself one more smile. Then she turned and walked toward where fellow humans were waiting, every single one of them grinning like maniacs. Captain Reed met her halfway, and for once, his professional demeanor cracked completely. "That was the most incredible shooting I have ever seen in my life," he said. "Also, you are getting written up for insubordination, challenging a superior officer, and causing a diplomatic incident. But mostly, that was incredible. Worth it," Maya said, and she meant it. Sarah grabbed her in a hug that nearly lifted her off the deck. "You did it. You actually did it. You made Vex Thorne apologize. Do you know how impossible that is? Apparently not that impossible, Maya said, hugging her back. The celebration continued. Spreading throughout the ship, humans and aliens alike talking about what they had witnessed, about the impossible course, about the human who had redefined what accuracy meant. Maya found herself surrounded by congratulations, by questions about her training, by requests to teach others her techniques. But later, much later, when the excitement had died down and most of the crew had returned to their duties, Maya found herself alone in the observation bay, staring out at the stars streaking past in faster-than-light travel. She was exhausted, her arms sore, her eyes tired, but she felt something else too. Pride, yes. Satisfaction, absolutely. But more than that, she felt like she had done something important, something that mattered. The door hissed open behind her. She did not need to turn to know who it was. "Permission to speak freely, sir?" she asked. "Granted." Captain Reed said, coming to stand beside her. "Do you think it will make a difference?" she asked. "What happened today? Do you think it will actually change how they see us?" Reed was quiet for a moment, considering. "I think you reminded them that human does not mean helpless. That new does not mean incompetent. That we earned our place out here not despite our limitations, but because of how we overcome them. Will it change everything overnight? No, but it is a start. And sometimes that is all you need. One person, one moment. One impossible shot to prove that the impossible is just something nobody has done yet." Maya nodded, feeling the truth of that settle into her bones. "Thank you, sir." "For what?" "For not stopping me. For letting me take the risk." Reed smiled. "You're a good soldier, Cross. One of the best I have ever served with. But more than that, you are exactly the kind of human the galaxy needs to see. Brave, skilled, and stubborn enough to stand up to anyone who tells you that you do not belong. Do not ever lose that." He left her there, alone with the stars and her thoughts. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new doubts, new voices telling humanity they were not good enough. But today, Maya Cross had shown the galaxy what human skill looked like. Today, she had made a legend apologize. Today, she had proven that humans belonged among the stars not because they were the strongest or the fastest or the most advanced, but because they refused to be anything less than extraordinary. She smiled at her reflection in the observation glass, tired but triumphant, and whispered to herself, "Not bad for a human. Not bad at all." Subscribe and like to my channel for more sci-fi stories.